Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm gonna show you how to sculpt in Blender. I'm gonna be using the version 3.0. This version, it's a new version. You can also use the latest version also to get better workflow or to get better performance, and that's depending on your laptop performance. Also, let's give you some important essential terms used in sculpting, like sculpt mode. All over here, as you can see, we have different modes in this pop-up menu, like object mode, or you can change between different modes. Over here we have vertex paint, white paint. Also for sculpt mode, it's similar to edit mode. Also you can switch to this mode, also switch to sculpt mode as shown here in this 3D viewport editor for sculpting. It's a sculpting workspace in that it is used to alter the shape of a model. Also, but sculpt mode uses a very different workflow as shown here. We have this panel for different sculpting tools, and that's great. That's very helpful for you. It's great to use different brushes. All these brushes are in different categories. You can also use this double-headed arrow to be stretched and extend this panel. We have a draw brush, draw sharp. We have different brushes all over here. Layer, blob, and are categorized in many colors, like the red brushes, the yellow brushes, and also the blue brushes. Also, you can see over here we have different individual elements, vertices, edges, and faces. Also, you can use this strand over here to set up the strand like this. This strand is for the brush and the range where the brush can alter or make some drawings. We have also an area to model, and this is altered using a brush. In other words, instead of selecting group of vertices, sculpt mode multiplies geometry in the brush region of influence. Like this, for example. I'm gonna using this brush, it's the Rotator Brush. Later I will give you detailed definitions for each brush and how to use it step by step. Let's continue explaining the different brushes all over this panel. Here we have the name of the brush and here the symbol of each brush. Also, you can click on each button to select the brush that you want to use it in the sculpting over here. Concerning the draw brush, what can this brush do? This brush moves vertices inward or outward based on the average normal as shown here. You can see it again. Let's increase the strength to see clearly. We have here this effect using the draw brush like this. Concerning the draw sharp brush, what can this brush do? Let's hit Ctrl Z to undo the action. Concerning the draw brush, this Concerning the draw brush, it's selected over here, highlighted in blue. When you try to using it, moves vertices inward or outward, paste the original coordinates and uses the sharper full of as shown here. As you can see, we have different and to alter geometry. Now let's switch the clay brush. What can this brush do? It's similar to the draw brush also, but includes settings to adjust the plane on which the brush acts. As shown here, you see the effect of using the clay brush like this. For example, you can also increase the strength and you see this effect. Also, you can increase the radius in pixels. Ctrl Z to undo the action. For example, the radius should be increased, should be decreased a little bit to get a good effect, or to use it to alter a little bit the details. For the clay strips brush, it's selected now. What can do this brush? The same as the clay brush, as said briefly. Also, but it uses a cube to define the brush area of influence, like this, rather than a sphere. Ctrl Z to undo the action. Let's see the difference between clay and clay strips. This is the difference, exactly. Now let's see the layer brush. It's selected now, highlighted in blue, as you can see here. Let's see its effect in altering the geometry. This layer brush moves all vertices to an exact height, creating a flat layer like this. You can also decrease in the strength and you see the effect. Very clear over here. We see also the geometry from this side. Let's increase the effect to see the difference between the layer and the other clay brushes, like clay brush and clay strips brush. Later I will discuss clay thumb brush. Now let's see the effect of the inflate brush. Click on it to select it. It's highlighted in blue. Go over here also, hold and drag to see the effect. The effect is not clear exactly. You should increase the strength of this brush to see it. So what can this brush do? Let's explain it. The inflate brush displaces the mesh in the direction of the vertex normals. Exactly what we can see all over here when holding the drag. Exactly. And also slightly. You can see the effect. Let's increase also the strength, and that depends on your workflow. For example, like this. That means you can push out the surface to be perpendicular to the normals of this quad sphere. Also to displace the mesh in direction of the vertex normals, and that is very clear. Let's see now the blob brush. What is the effect of the blob brush? What can do to the geometry of this quad sphere? The blob brush pushes mesh outward and also inward into a spherical shape. So let's verify that exactly on this surface. When holding and dragging the mouse cursor, or you should use the drawing tablet to verify that exactly. Let's rotate this quad sphere to see also the change in geometry of this surface. You can also increase the strength of this brush and you see the effect exactly. And we can see also for this geometry, low poly geometry or high poly geometry, also the shape is pushed outward or inward into spherical shape as shown here, and that's very clear. Let's move now to the crease brush. What can crease brush do? In altering geometry, this brush creates sharp indents or ridges by pushing or pulling the mesh while pinching the vertices together. Let's try it now. Hold and drag after selecting the crease brush. In the same region, you can do it like this. Also, you should rotate it to verify that we have created this crease, and it's very clear now. You can see it like this, and we have also other methods to do it slightly. You can increase the strength and the effect will be like this. Also, you can increase the radius of your brush. The effect will be so wide, like this workflow as shown here. Let's try now the smooth brush. Click on it to select it. It's highlighted in blue. It's in action. So what can this brush do? Let's try it. Exactly, this brush eliminates irregularities in the mesh by averaging the positions of the vertices. So what can that mean? For example, after doing some altering of geometry, the surface, for example, let's draw using this brush, or use also the clay brush over here. We have different irregularities all over these faces, and we have altered geometry over here, and a lot of irregularities in the mesh. So let's smooth using the smooth brush. Go over here, click on it, select it, then go back to your model. Hold and drag using this brush to smooth it, to remove all these irregularities like this, and we have smoothed out the different regions and irregularities like this, for example. We have this altered and distorted model. The surface is not regular. Surface is irregular. Let's try to use the flatten brush all over this surface. Let's define what can this flatten brush do. Flatten brush smooths vertices to a flat plane by finding an average height and moves vertices towards that height. Let's try it now. We have different heights all over this white topology. If you want to flatten this surface, for example, let's increase this strength to see the effect. This brush can smooth vertices to a flat plane by finding an average height between the different geometries in this mesh and moves vertices towards that height. Now let's move to the fill brush. The fill brush brings vertices. As shown here, we have a different vacuum between these different parts all over this geometry. So the fill brush brings vertices below the brush plane upwards, as shown here. Also, let's try it in this location. For example, this place, this location, and that will fill this place upwards, and you can see effect also over this location here. Concerning the Sculpt brush, that brush brings vertices above the plane downwards. We can see the effect exactly here. Let's try it now in this place, for example. That will brings vertices above the plane downwards, like this. The Multiplane Sculpt brush scrapes the mesh with two angled planes at the same time, producing a sharp edge between them, as shown here. Let's try it, for example, in this space. This is exactly the effect of this Multiplane Sculpt brush. So now let's move and select to activate the pinch brush to see the effect exactly and clearly. I'm working on the previous model that I have created using the Multiplane Sculpt brush. This brush allows you to pull vertices towards the center of the brush. Let's try it between these two edges over here or over here, for example. Hold and drag, and you see clearly the effect between these different corners all over here. We have also this can pinch. These different parts, for example, these different two parts, and you see the effect clearly. The grab brush selects a group of vertices and pulls them to follow the mouse. Let's try it on this geometry mesh. As shown here, you can hold and drag. Also, you can pull down, pull in or pull out. This is the effect of grab a brush. Use it to apply grab effect on this mesh. Now let's see the elastic deform brush. This brush is used to simulate realistic deformations, such as grabbing or twisting of elastic objects. That's pretty awesome. Let's try it now. For example, hold and drag some of these locations regions on this mesh. For example, push it like this, or grab it to stretch this mesh, for example like this, or let's apply it on this location. You can hold and drag, move it around to see this effect on this geometry. Let's move to the next brush, which is called Snake Hook Brush. This brush pulls vertices along with the movement of the brush or create long snake forms. For example, hold and drag without releasing mouse cursor of this edge, for example, like this, and you can see that you created, for example, like a horn or something like that, or snake-like forms. The thumb brush flattens the mesh in the brush area while moving it direction of the brush stroke. Let's apply it now. Hold and drag, move it like this. For example, this area, hold and drag like this. You can see this effect all over here in this location. Let's move now to the pose brush. This brush poses a model simulating armature-like deformations. For example, let's try it over this place, like this, and you see this effect. You can also see this effect. Now let's discuss the nudge brush. This brush moves vertices in direction of the brush stroke. Let's try it. On this location, hold and drag, hold and drag, hold and drag. You can see the effect that all vertices over here are pulled inwards to move. For example, let's try it again. Let's try it again. You can see the effect. Now let's move to the Rotator Brush. This brush can rotate vertices within the brush in the direction the cursor is moved, like this. For example, let's try it on this location. Hold and drag and rotate. For example, you can get this effect. Also on this region, for example, on this region, and you can see the effect clearly. For example, let's apply it on this region. Let's now try the cloth brush. Select it, go over here. For example, let's try it on this region. You can see this effect. Hold and drag, you can see this effect using this brush. And this brush simulates cloth that can be sculpted.